Thank you so much, and I'm very, very impressed. Good accent.
Don't be too
Good.
impressed. That's about the extent of it.
I know, but the accent, come on, that was good. So I'm super excited to be here. And as you heard, the topic is going to be creativity. Let me start by, I love that we put get filthy creative as the topic. I love that. That's what we're going to do. Basically, the whole idea here is for me to share with you some insights into how creativity works in order to make you more creative. I have this motto that we cannot master that which we don't understand. And I have spent the last 25 years trying to understand human creativity. I'm just coming out with a book in a couple of weeks. It's called The World of Creativity. And it's based on insights around creativity from people around the world. So I thought it would be fun to go on a journey today. So we are going to go on a journey. I spent the last 25 years doing one thing and one thing only, going around and interviewing really, really creative people about what makes them really, really creative. I'm not one of those super creative people. I think I'm creative, but I'm not one of the most creative people in the world. But I have interviewed and learned from some of the most creative people in the world. And today I will share with you some insights into the creative process that they have shared with me. As the Creativity Explorer, I don't only interview marketing directors or advertising people or CEOs. I try to interview all kinds of people from all kinds of works of life, from all cultures and all countries. So as you see on the slide here, I've spent the last 25 years going to more than 75 countries on 6 continents and interview all kinds of people. I even went to North Korea. I'm not going to share the insight from North Korea today, but if you're interested, you can email me and ask me about the North Korean story and I'll share it with you. I think creativity is such a wonderful, wonderful superpower that we have, but most people don't understand how it works. So today we are going to look into that. But we're not a super big group today. I think I see 27 in the chat. So I'm going to share some insights into creativity, but maybe there's something you would like to know. We only have an hour, and I know I can improvise. Is there something you would like to learn, or is there some topic around creativity that you would like me to cover? If it is, pop it into the chat, and I can try to answer that while that's, get a little bit more value and just doing a presentation. And so is there anything you would like to know? Please put it in the chat and I will see if I can answer it. We'll do also some Q&As at the end. All right, so are you guys ready to go around the world and learn something about creativity? I should say there is no chapter about American creativity in the book. And the reason is because everyone knows so much about American creativity already. So I thought it would be more interesting to go around and study creativity from the places in the world that we don't know so much about. There's even a chapter about Afghanistan. Okay, here we have a question. Help us learn how to help our teams. Yes. Okay, great. I'll do that at the end. I think that, no, okay, why not? Let's improvise. I'll do it right now. I'll answer that one first because that's a kind of different from what I'm going to do with the rest. And it's actually a good start. I get this question a lot. It might just be the most common question I get. What can we do to get our teams to become more creative? My father was a music teacher, and he was often asked about from the parents of his students, how can I turn my child into a musician? My father said, it's not about the technique. You can take any child and teach them how to play an instrument. You just put your fingers like this and you blow into this part and out comes music. But the only way to turn someone into a musician is through inspiration. Play the best, the musical greats for your child and explain why it's good music. And if they have potential to become a musician, they will be inspired and it will trigger them. We can apply this to business. One of my favorite examples is from a Swedish HR manager. Her name is Marie Hallander Larsson. She was the HR manager of the largest shoe store company in Sweden. And when she started at this job, she said, oh, okay, I need to meet all my HR managers. Every store has an HR manager. I need to meet all of them. It's like 200 of them or something. So she said to herself, okay, why don't I organize a 2-day conference? So she organized a 2-day conference, but then she, on the night before the conference, and this is the first day on her job, more or less, on the night of before the conference, she woke up and she realized, wait a minute, what is the purpose of this conference? What is the purpose of any internal conference? It's to meet and network and share ideas between each other. Then she looked at the program and she realized the program was smack full of speakers. So she had an epiphany and she changed the slides. The next day she woke up on the stage and she said to the people, hi, I'm your new boss, I'm Marie Helander Larsson. We're supposed to be here for a 2-day conference, but I realized that the real reason to be here is for us to network and get to know each other. So I changed it from a 2-day conference to a 1-day conference. And I did that about taking away all the speakers. And then she put up a new slide, and the slide said, literally, break, break, coffee, break, break, lunch. Break, break, coffee, break, break, go home. And everyone looked at her and said, what do you mean? What the hell is this? She said, yes, we're going to have a 1 day of break. What are we going to do? She said, I don't care. Talk to the people you never have time to talk to and talk about the things you never have time to talk about. And don't forget to take a break between the talks. So they did. At the end of the conference, she did an evaluation. What did you think about this conference? Everyone said, this is the best conference we've ever had. Finally, we got some time to get to know each other. But the lesson is not the idea. The lesson is what she did, and more importantly, what she did on the first, more or less the first day on her job. Because what is the message she's communicating to all these people on the first time they meet her by doing something crazy like this? She's communicating, I'm the kind of person that if I have a crazy idea, I'm going to do it. So if you have a crazy idea, you can do it too. I think it's a great example of how creativity is inspired. And nothing kills creativity as CEOs or CXOs going up and pushing the innovation and creativity, but then being extremely strict and not doing anything creative themselves. Because then the people feel this is just hypocrisy. They're just talking about it, they're not living the message. So, having said that now, I decided that I would do my presentation based on how you as an individual can become more creative. Because if you become more creative, your team automatically will also become more creative. So let's focus on that. Look at this as a personal development session on developing our creative skills. Good. So let's begin. We are going to start in England. We're going to go around the world in this little hour here. We're going to start in England and meet a person that I think one of the most fascinating people I've ever met. Her name is Suzanne Williams. She's a hostage negotiator for Scotland Yard. How cool is that? She has saved 600 people from being kidnapped and from more or less certain death. She has negotiated with Al-Qaeda and all kinds of terrorists. Her job is literally to try to communicate with people who do not want to communicate with her, get them to talk to her and give her as much information as possible, even though they don't want to give her any information at all, and to get them to release the hostage, which they don't want to do, without paying any money, which is what they want to get. It's an impossible situation, and she has succeeded hundreds of times. Unbelievable. I asked her, how do you use creativity in your job? And she said this. Sometimes there's a lot of negativity. No shit. People are going to die. She said, you have to block that out, or it's going to interfere with your creativity. I said, hold on. Are you trying to say to me that you're going to just forget about all the bad experience that has happened before? And she goes, yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. But then you're not using all that experience that you have. And she goes, yeah, I know, but there's a reason here. And the reason, she said this. make sure your mind is open enough to pick up anything positive. And she gave the example. Let's say I'm on a phone call and they don't want to tell me their names, where they are, anything at all, but there might be a train in the background, and we can figure out that if that train at this time, it can only be these 5 trains. Now we know roughly where they are. There might be a bird. They might accidentally use a word that's only used in a special dialect, and now we know where they are. She said, if you are not 100% focused and positive that we are going to find that one clue, you are going to miss it. It doesn't mean you use rose-tinted glasses and just think everything is going to be fine. It means for that moment, forget anything negative. Think about it as building a puzzle, and you're looking at all the pieces and they all look the same. If you're thinking there's no way I'm going to find the right piece, there is a bigger chance that you won't find it. But if you think to yourself, I know it's there, I can feel it, I'm going to see it, there's a bigger chance that you see it. Creative people are not just happier people, they also have a more positive approach to life, which is because they are creative. So the first lesson here is to take this lesson and to be positive around anything that we do, but also anything that we learn. Because it's very often that we go to a session like this, and we say, yeah, okay, I know this, this is nothing new. But then we're missing, we only need that one thing from a session that might change how we look at the world. So my request to you is to use the approach of Suzanne on this session itself and try to find that one thing that will give you value and make you more creative. That's the lesson from Suzanne. Now we're going to go to China. So in 2005, I am from Sweden, but in 2005 I left Sweden and I moved to China. Why did I move to China? Because in 2005 the Chinese government published a new 5-year plan. And then for the first time ever, the word innovation was being used, and it was being used 70 times. Suddenly, China decided to become creative. And as a creativity author and speaker, I said to myself, I need to be part of this. I need to teach China how to become creative. Because at the time, the rest of the world, especially the Western world, would look at China and say, China doesn't create anything. China does one thing and one thing only. All they do is copy. And if you look at that like this, you say to yourself, China is no threat and China will never innovate because all they know how to do is to copy. Now, I lived in China for 3 months until I realized I was not there to teach them how to become creative. I was there to learn what they can teach us about creativity, because China is an extremely creative country. They're just creative in a different way. But what about the copying? Yes, they copy like crazy. You can buy a fake BMW in China. You can buy a fake egg in China. It's unbelievable how they copy. This is one of my favorite examples. This is a city outside Shanghai, a suburb. And the mayor decided that he was going to build a new city for 30,000 people. And to get some inspiration, they went to Europe to look at cute European cities. They went to Switzerland, they went to Austria, they went to Denmark, England, they went to Sweden. And when they came to Sweden, they saw a Swedish city, which is 1,000 years old. It's called Sigtuna. And they said, this is the one. This is the one. Let's copy. And they took 1 million pictures and they copied a town. You know, there's a fake Eiffel Tower in Las Vegas, but this is a fake town. They copied the whole town. I have been to Sigtuna. It looks exactly like this. There's even a fake church. Hello, they're not Christians. They build a church anyway. Even the trees are where the trees should be. You see things like this and you say, all they do is copy. But now we need to take a step back. What is really creativity? What does it mean to have an idea? What is an idea? Well, an idea is, this is actually my formula. I turned it into a formula to make it easy for people to understand, to remember. An idea equals that a person, meaning you, take your knowledge and your information K stands for knowledge, information, I stands for information. Now you take knowledge and information, you combine it in a new way. What is the difference between knowledge and information? Knowledge is new things that you know, things you've learned, experienced, and so on. Information is things you don't know yet, that then turns into knowledge. But information, new data, inspiration, call it whatever you want, new input. And to be creative is to take your old knowledge and the new inspiration, and then the plus means to combine. Combine it in a way we haven't seen before. I'll give you an example. Here are two things that do not belong together. We have power lines and we have statues. Now you take power lines, you take statues, you combine the two, what do you get? Now what a creative mind is trying to do now is trying to find the connection. Trying to find a connection between something that is not already connected. That's what creativity is. Now, there's no correct answer here. There are hundreds of thousands, infinite numbers of combinations. Some of you are now thinking the Eiffel Tower, someone is thinking a statue that electrocutes you, whatever your idea. But a creative mind is relentlessly trying to find what the hell is the combination, what is the connection between these two unrelated things. Some people think creative people are not structured or organized. It's the opposite. They try to structure and organize the unstructured part of the world. We are the most organized and structured people in the world. So I'm not going to ask you what you think. You can think whatever you want. But you take statues and power lines, you combine the two, and you get this, for example, which I think is brilliant. You take power lines looking like statues. I mean, this is proposed to be built in Iceland. Iceland lives a lot on tourism, but they also live a lot on the fact that they have very cheap electricity. So there's a lot of power lines going through the city, going through the country. Now the power lines ruin the experience for the tourists. So by doing this, building giants through the troll landscape of Iceland, you get a more beautiful landscape. If we are going to ruin the landscape, let's ruin it in a beautiful way. I think this is brilliant. You don't have to like this. That's not the point. The point is that every idea is a combination of previously known ideas. The iPhone was just a computer and a telephone combined. Now, when we realize this, we realize that every idea ever invented by anyone was in somehow or some combination a copy of something else. Everyone copies. Or to quote Pablo Picasso, good artist copy, great artist steal. Everyone copies. Now we bring us back to China. What can we learn about creativity from the Chinese? Sorry. So when I was living in China, I met some of the most creative people I've ever met, including one lady. Her name is Amelia. Her Western name is Amelia. And she's a designer for IDEO. So if you know anything about IDEO, you know she must be really creative. I met with her and she said to me, Fredrik, you Westerners, you're Angmos, you're obsessed with creativity. Creativity is everything you always talk about. You talk about intellectual property, she said. You talk about patents, you talk about copyright. She said, Fredrik, listen to me. It's not about copyright. It's about copying right. And I think this is brilliant. First I laughed, but then I said, wait a minute. She is onto something. Because everyone copies. Copying wrong is just taking something that someone else does and do exactly the same thing on the same market, and that is just meaningless. But to copy right is to go around the world and look what everyone else is doing and take the best of each and combine that to something even better. In the West, we like to talk about the Chinese Google and the Chinese Twitter, like they're copies of Google and Twitter. But if you have been to China recently, you know that the Chinese Google and the Chinese Twitter are way more advanced than Google and Twitter. And Elon Musk is now desperately trying to turn X into the Chinese Twitter. So he's basically copying the copying. And now we call it innovation, but he's just copying China. Everyone copies. Then I moved to Singapore. I lived in Singapore for 20 years. Singapore does have the same approach, kind of Chinese approach. When they built Changi Airport, which is the best airport in the world, 25 out of the last 30 years, they went to every great airport in the world. They went to Heathrow, they went to JFK, they went to Charles de Gaulle, and they looked at every airport and they said, what makes this airport so good? And they took the best of each. They went back and they built Changi Airport, by far the best airport in the world. Now, I worked with Changi Airport and I've asked them, when is the last time Charles de Gaulle came and visited you? And they said, we can't even remember. And if you have been to Charles de Gaulle, Heathrow or JFK, you know that these airports are not the best in the world. They are one of the worst in the world because they haven't been copying from other airports. I don't understand how you can run an airport and not go and visit Changi Airport in Singapore. We should copy more, but we should copy right. So the question then, your first question, your first assignment in this little session is, who could you copy right? Now that's what we can learn from China. Good. So I'm going to see if there's any questions, so that I'll take a little break here. Oh, is creativity innate or something we can learn? You are really a very, what do you call that, normal group. You're asking the most common questions. The answer is yes. Creativity is innate, just like some people are born with perfect pitch. Some people are born with more creativity than others. But just because you're not born with perfect pitch doesn't mean you cannot become great at music. And just if you're not born with perfect creativity doesn't mean you cannot be creative. Everyone can learn to become creative. Everyone can learn to become much more creative. And I am not sad about the uncreative people of the world. There are some really uncreative people in the world, but they don't make me depressed. What makes me sad are the creative people that are not doing enough to become more creative. Like a short basketball player is not really depressing, but a tall basketball player with talent that doesn't practice, that's a shame. And the more I interview or meet with really creative people, a lot of them are not doing all that they can to become even more creative. Some are, but a lot are not. Imagine if they did. Imagine if you did. Imagine if you invested 10 more times in trying to develop your creativity. Imagine what you could do. That's my most passionate project, to get the creative people to become more creative. Yes, so if there are no more questions, you can put questions in if you don't want me to just do the presentation. But I'll continue. Now we're going to switch, because I thought in this book, I thought it would be interesting to see if there are different kinds of different ways of looking at what creativity is in its essence. And there is. So here's one lesson. This is, I don't know, maybe almost philosophical, but I included it because I think this is one of the most profound lessons to me. So I went to Bhutan. Actually, this is just a couple of months ago. I went to Bhutan to do research and to do a speech. That's me giving the speech. But then I also met, I'll tell the story first. Whoops, go back. I met with the former minister, he's now the former minister of tourism of Bhutan. And if you do know Bhutan is that country where you have to pay $200 a day to come in. Basically, it's a gated country. So it's very hard to get in as a tourist because they don't want too many tourists, because they want to keep the Shangri-La feeling of the country. So I met with the head of tourism and I said to him, tell me something, you're a Buddhist, you live in Shangri-La. How do you look at creativity versus how I look at creativity? He said, in the West, you think that creativity is about expression, like to produce something. You talk about expressing yourself. It's an outward movement. He said, that's not wrong, but it's not the most important aspect of creativity. He said, creativity is not about self-expression. Creativity is an inward motion. Creativity is about understanding yourself. I think this is profound. Because when you realize what this means, you realize, first of all, that what you create is not the most important thing. It's what you learn from it that is the most important thing. And when you realize this, you realize that when creativity's first and primary motive is for you to better understand yourself, you realize that there is no way to fail. Because let's say you're a painter and you start painting a painting and it ends up a total disaster and you cannot sell it, you can't even show it to anyone. The outward expression was a failure. But I can guarantee you learn something about yourself as a painter by doing that, and then every creative endeavor becomes a learning opportunity. But more importantly, think about anything meaningful that you have done creatively, or even more, think about the most meaningful creative project that you have ever done. And I guarantee that that project was something which taught you something profound about yourself. And when we realize this, we realize that creativity, the main purpose of it, is for us to go dig deeper into understanding who we are. Because creativity is the second most powerful human emotion after love. So love teaches us who we really are, and creativity teaches us who we really are. And that should be the ambition for any creative project that we do. And that's the lesson from Bhutan. Now we're going to go to Spain. You see, this is a world tour. We're going to go to all kinds of countries. We're also going to go, well, we have a few countries left. This is a different kind of lesson. This is not about the mindset. So part of the chapters in the book is because I wanted to put names on the creative process, aspects of the creative process that didn't have a name already. I'm used as an example the concept of flow. Flow has always existed, but before someone put a name on it and called it flow, there was no way to talk about it. But as soon as we had the name flow, now we can talk about it, we can discuss this, we can learn more about it, we can inquire on what flow means to us, and we can share our experiences. Now, there are many aspects of the creative process that doesn't have a name, and in the book I describe them and I give them a name. This is one of these things that we've given a name. It's called, and this is a lesson from this woman in the picture, she's a glass artist. She does the most amazing glass sculptures because they are super thick and 100% transparent. No bubbles, no shade. Very difficult to do. She's the only one who can do it in the world. But to make these is extremely difficult. And over and over and over again, when she tried to do it, she would fail. But then came what she calls the mierda moment. And mierda, if you know Spanish, means shit. So basically, this is the moment of shit. What does it mean? She was doing these sculptures, glass art pieces, put it into the kiln, had to wait for 6 weeks for it to cool down, open the kiln, and it was broken. Over and over and over again. Every time it happened, she got sad, annoyed, depressed, which happens when we fail. But then there was one time. There was one time she opened the kiln and it still had cracked. But this time, instead of getting depressed and losing energy, she gained superpowers. She got so much energy. And she said to herself, mierda, meaning, what the hell? Shit, what's fuck, basically. Sorry for my English. Why is this cracking over and over again? And she got so much energy from it, she ran down to the library, she borrowed every book on glass, she Googled glass experts, she called them up. Why is my glass cracking? What? Mierda, why is it happening? She described it like a super booster button in a computer game. Like, you know, when suddenly you get booster available, you click it and you just, boom, you get all the super energy. But the booster button only lasts for a while and then it's gone again. So during that super energized period for this specific failure, she was able to solve it and she cracked it, and now she can do these amazing art pieces. So the mierda moment is the moment of failure that doesn't lower your energy, it increases your energy. And if you are aware that this moment exists, if it happens to you or when it happens to you the next time, you can say to yourself, oh my God, I'm having a mierda moment. I need to cherish this energy before it is gone. I think it's beautiful. Now we're going to go to Thailand. This might just be my favorite example, because this changed how I approach my own, all of them changed how I approach creativity, but this one really changed how I approach, how I look at life, actually. So this is, her name is Kai, this is her, maybe the most human I've ever met. Such an amazing person. Her job is to be an origami paper artist. She makes beautiful flowers out of paper. You can just feel her serene energy. So I met with her in Bangkok, and we started talking about creativity. And for some reason, we came into the concept of creative block. And I asked her, so what happens when you're stuck? What do you do then? And she looked at me a bit confused. And then she said, if I'm stuck, then I go to Starbucks. Yeah, okay, good. So you go to Starbucks, and what are you doing then? I said, are you like thinking about the problem? Or like, what are you doing? And she said, I think about the coffee I'm going to buy. I said, oh, yeah, okay, fine. But then you buy your coffee and you're sitting down, then what do you do? Like, you're trying different theories, what's going on in your head. Trying to get her to describe this process of overcoming creative block. She looked at me, she still didn't understand me. She said, I drink my coffee. And suddenly I realized that this woman is totally and utterly unaware of creative anxiety. It doesn't exist in her. So basically what she said was that when she gets stuck, she just stands up, goes out, and enjoys a cup of coffee. And then, after a while, she goes back and she continues her work. She calls this, beautifully, an idea nap. Like a power nap. You're tired, you go to sleep for a while, you wake up, and you go back to work. An idea nap is the concept of a creative block without the anxiety. And when I realized this, and since I met her, I don't have creative anxiety anymore. There's no need to have it. And she explained to me that this comes from the Thai mentality. In Thailand, they have something called sabai sabai. And if you've ever been to Thailand, you know what sabai sabai means. If you haven't, I'll explain. Sabai sabai is like this. You come as a Westerner, you go to Bangkok, you sit in a bar, you order a beer. After 20 minutes, the beer has still not come. And you're getting upset because you're stressed. So you go to the waiter and say, excuse me, hey, excuse me, where's my beer? I ordered 20 minutes ago. The Thai will smile and say, sabai sabai. It basically means, don't worry, be happy. The beer will come when the beer will come. It's an approach to life to just enjoy life and not worry about things you don't need to worry about. Now, if you then have now taken this sabai sabai mentality and applied it onto creativity, and suddenly the creative process doesn't have to involve any anxiety at all. And I have now started to use this myself, and I don't have creative anxiety, and neither do you. So that's the lesson from Thailand.
Question related to anxiety. There's a couple of them in the chat, and it's about anxiety that AI, which is not really creative. It's more a simulation of pretend creativity, maybe, or maybe you have a different point of view. But is it going to replace human creativity? Is it going to, are we going to get too lazy and people aren't going to be spending time on real human creativity? Is it going to help us be more creative? What do you think about AI's impact?
I think a lot about that. First of all, I think AI is an amazing creativity tool. First of all, AI can be creative. I've interviewed loads of AI scientists. They all say the same thing. Of course, AI can be creative. If creativity is to take two things and combine them in a way we haven't seen before and evaluate if that is good to use or not, of course AI can be creative. It's being creative all the time. It's inventing, discovering new proteins, or writing new copy, checking it on Meta. If it's not working, it tries a new one, until it works. Of course AI is creative. AI is creating, and if if creativity is to take things and combine it, AI can combine billions of things in billions of ways and then evaluate if it's good or bad in nanoseconds. It's the biggest creativity tool we have ever invented. But just like a big excavator is much better than digging with our hands, we have now a much better tool, but we are still manually digging. We sell 200 million shovels in the world still today, even though we have excavators. So of course we are also ourselves going to innovate and create. Not because necessarily we will do it better than computers, but because it makes us happy. Why on earth would we stop the one thing that makes us the most happy? And AI is a wonderful creativity tool, because before AI, how could you actually be creative? Number one, dream, like inside your subconscious brain gives you an idea in a dream, meditation, something like this. Number two, your conscious brain give you an idea. Oh, I'm going to make pancakes for dinner. That's not your subconscious, that is your conscious mind. Number three, you talk to another person. Come on, let's brainstorm. I share my ideas with you. I give different perspectives from you. Now we're brainstorming ideas. Number four, inspiration. You read a book, you see a bird fly, something in the world, your senses tells you something. Velcro, look at that. That thing gets stuck on my pants. Something like inspiration from the outside world. And five, the pen. You sit by yourself, but you write down your thoughts so you can look at your thoughts inside your head, but now outside of your head. Those are the 5 ways to be creative. We have now invented a 6th one. And suddenly you can now brainstorm with yourself, using your own voice, upload everything you've ever written and all your material that you have. Go to 11 labs, upload your own voice, and you can now brainstorm with yourself out loud, which is a totally new way of brainstorming. And I can tell you that this is an amazing way to brainstorm, because I am an identical twin. I have an identical twin brother. We are the same genes and the same background. And when I brainstorm with him, you cannot imagine how that is, because you've never done it. But when I do that, I can say half a sentence and he will continue that sentence because he's almost me. And now everyone will be able to have that same experience, which is an amazing way to brainstorm ideas. So I'm extremely positive about AI, both as a tool and as a creator itself. But like any tool, we cannot evaluate how a tool is being used after having access to it for just 2 years. If we use a calculator the wrong way, we become stupid at math. If we use a calculator the right way, we can solve mathematical problems way beyond what we could do without the calculator. AI is the same thing. Use it wrong and we will become stupid and dumb. Use it right and we will become smarter and more creative than we have ever been before. That's my AI take. Good. So we have some more questions maybe. Twins using AI to brainstorm together is basically a superhero. Yes, exactly. Oh, yes. In Greece, you say slowly, slowly. I love that. I'm not going to talk about that, but in the book, there's actually a chapter from Afghanistan about the concept of, okay, I'll share it. Why not? It's called profound patience. Because in America, it's all about speed. Mark Zuckerberg, go fast and break things. Great. But that's not wrong, but we can go the total opposite way too. And this is a woman, she's an Afghan painter, and she paints in the traditional Afghan way, like when Afghan was a cultural superpower hundreds of years ago. Which means, before you paint, you cut down your own tree and you make your own paper. Then you go and you collect gemstones and you grind them down and mix them with oil and water, and now you create your own paint. Then you go and make your own brush by cutting the hair of a cat in the neck and making a paintbrush. Basically, it takes months before she can start to paint, because first she has to make all the material herself. And she called that profound patience. And the reason is, she said, when I have an idea for a painting, when you have an idea for a painting, you go to Amazon, you order your stuff, the next day you get it, and then you start to paint. When I have an idea for a painting, I need to go and build all that stuff. And while I do that, my brain changes the idea. And when I finally start to paint, it is never the idea I had in the beginning. I have been like slow cooking this idea for weeks while I prepare until I finally start. And the idea that I actually paint is always much better than the original idea that I had. So this is just to show that Mark Zuckerberg is not wrong, but we can go the total opposite. We can actually prolong the creative process on purpose to make more slow cooked ideas. Anyway.
Fredrik, I have a prompt for you, which you can take or you can ignore. And it builds a little more on the AI question and response from earlier. But when I saw you present in Berlin, one of the things you did for the audience is you asked a question. And you would ask a question like, think of something impossible. And you would prompt them to give some answers. And then you would basically show a slide that was every answer they just gave you. And then you would explain the difference between that impossible or that creative idea and a real one and how you get to that. You did it a little bit at the beginning when you showed the example of the power lines and the statue. But to me, this is the kind of bringing together of that initial idea and what you just said about AI. And I wonder if you might just take the audience through another one of those little exercises now or at some point before you end.
We can do it. We can do it now. I won't do that one because it doesn't work. It's complicated and takes too much time and doesn't really work virtually. But I'll give you another one, a simpler one. If we ask 100 adults, 100 English, if we ask 100 English-speaking adults, if you had an extra pair of eyes, where would you like to have them? What do people reply? What do you think they're going to reply? What are you thinking? What do most people reply? I mean, here we can use the chat actually, just to see. If you got an extra pair of eyes, where would you like? Yeah, thank you, Stephanie. Perfect. 90% of adults will say back of my head. Now, why do they say that? It's not because it's the best answer. It's because we've heard it before. There's a saying in English, I wish I had eyes in the back of my head. And we heard our mother say it. Here's the problem. It's not the best answer, but we are so brainwashed to try to quickly give the right answer, and the right answer is something we heard before, so we say back of our heads, or we say here, which is the cyclone. If we had a saying, eyes on my elbow, 90% of people would say elbow. So what's the problem here? The problem is that we are not using our creativity when we do this, we are using our knowledge. Now, if you go and ask children, if you have children and they haven't started school yet, go home and ask them. If you got an extra pair of eyes, where would you like to have them? Children do differently. If adults try to quickly remember the right answer and then they say eyes in the back of my head. Children try to take the time and think about the question and then say, yeah, where would I like to have a pair of eyes? And then they imagine where they would like to have them. Totally different approach. That's the creative approach. The most common answer after children has been thinking for a while, the most common answer among children is on the finger. Because if you have a finger, you can look backwards, but also front. You can look around corners. You can look in your own nose, all of that. That's what children say. Most common answer. But I have asked hundreds of children, and I get different answers. Not every time, but often. And here are my two favorites. If you got an extra pair of eyes, where would you like to have them? A 6-year-old boy. He said, in my big sister's room. Which is a brilliant answer. Why? Because all of you, or 99% of you, thought, where on my body would I like to see? But that was not the exercise. The exercise, where would you like to use an extra pair of eyes? He thought, where in the universe would I like to use extra pair of eyes? Do you see the difference? It means that even before we start adults, even before we start thinking about the creative problem, we have already limited our creativity because we think we need to say the right thing on our body. And this is another good answer. If you got an extra pair of eyes, where would you like to have them? 6-year-old girl, under my feet. Why would you have it under your feet? Then I can use them as rollerblades. Why is this a brilliant answer? Because all of you thought, where would I like to see? She thought, where would I like to use an extra pair of eyes? We combine the two, and you realize that kids think, where in the universe would I like to use a pair of eyes? While most adults think, where in my body would I like to see? And that limits our creativity even before we start to be creative. And that is the limitations of going to school, and that's what we need to break by developing our own creativity. So that's a good example of this. All right, so now we have 9 minutes left, and we might leave some more questions for time for answers. So, I have a lot of examples left. So we are going to pick, let's see. Let's see if the next one is here. Oh, yes. Should we do this one? Okay, I'm going to let you decide. Are we going to do, the first person who answers in the chat gets to decide. Are we going to do, what can we learn about creativity from a famous car designer in England? Or what can we learn about creativity from a Swedish national, the Swedish national team of cooking? Which one do you want to hear? We only have time for one, I think. Cooking, there we go. We go to Sweden. Perfect. Let's see, where is Sweden? Okay, we skip. There we go. So we're going to go to Sweden. Sweden, by the way, you might not know this, but Sweden is ranked the 3rd most innovative country on the planet. America's number 1, Switzerland normally number 2. But then comes Sweden, a country of just 10 million people. And that's the island I'm recording from, actually, but it became dark, so you can't see it anymore. Okay, so why is Sweden such a creative country? It took me a long time to find the right answer, but finally I found them, and I found it in the national team of cooking. So there's something called the Food Olympics. And in the Food Olympics, every country send their best chefs every 4 years for like an Olympic in cooking. And it might come to a surprise to you, but Sweden has won it multiple times, which is unbelievable because Sweden is not a big food country. You have never said to your partner, honey, let's have Swedish tonight, okay? Not happening. We are famous for one thing and one thing only, meatballs at IKEA. So how can a country famous for bad meatballs in a furniture store, how can we win the Food Olympics? How can we beat countries like Italy, France, Japan, China, Thailand? Because we do, and we've done it multiple times. We are usually always top 5. So I met with them and I asked them, explain to me how. And they said, French chefs think that French food is the best in the world, so they only study French cuisine. Italian chefs think no one likes French food, everyone likes Italian food, they don't go to Paris, they stay in Italy and they interview their grandmother, how to make good pasta. Japanese chefs knows it takes 7 years to become a sushi master chef, so they study for 7 years. But Swedish chefs, they know that Sweden doesn't have the best food in the world, so they leave Sweden. They go to Paris, they work in a 3-star Michelin restaurant. They go to Italy, they interview 100 grandmothers. They go to Tokyo, not for 7 years, but for 7 months. They study under a sushi master chef. Then they'll take all the things that they've learned, and they go back to Sweden, and they learn about meatballs. And as one of them said to me, we take all the best that are outside, and all the best that we have, we combine the two, and we go to the Food Olympics, and we do herring sashimi with lingonberry wasabi. And we win. And this is the essence of Sweden, and why we are punching way over our weight when it comes to creativity. We have more unicorn startups in Stockholm per capita than you have in Silicon Valley. So we are really doing well. So what is this all about? Well, they said, oh, I call this the creative sweet spot, because Swedes are confidently doubting. What does that mean? It means that Sweden at the same time think that our country is the best in the world, which is not unusual. A lot of countries think that, but we are extra proud. Sweden is usually a role model for others. At the same time, we are extremely cautious, we are extremely doubtful about Sweden. We have very bad self-esteem. We have those two things at the same time. And that is what creative people have. Too much confidence and you become arrogant and you think you know everything. Too little confidence and you will not even try. But creative people think like this. Everyone is walking to the left, I'm going to walk to the right. In order to do that, you need to be confident. But the really creative people think further. Everyone is going to the left. I'm going to go to the right. Maybe not. Maybe I should go up, maybe down, maybe forward, maybe back. Maybe I'm wrong. So to be confidently doubting is the sweet spot. And Sweden is unique in this way. If you tell an American he's un-American, you get annoyed. If you tell a French person he's un-French, they get annoyed. If you tell a Swedish person you are un-Swedish, we get happy and say thank you very much. So the lesson we can learn is to combine these two, to be confidently doubting about our own skills and at the same time curious about the rest of the world. And this book that I wrote is exactly about this. It's about becoming proud of your own creativity, but at the same time curious about how the rest of the world looks at creativity in a different way than we do, and maybe we can learn from them and take the best from them and the best from ourselves and become even more creative. And that is the lesson of the world of creativity. Now we have 3 minutes left. Is there anything that you would like to ask, or are there any questions in the chat?
Fredrik, while we do that, can you go to the very last slide so I have a chance to tell everybody about what is coming next?
Yeah, one second. I just thought it would be nice to do the questions first, and then we can go to that, if there are any more questions. I put my LinkedIn post in the chat if you want to ask questions. Usually questions come right after you hang up. So if you want to send me a message, you can do that there. No questions.
Okay, Fredrik,
Okay.
First of all, just to you, tusen tack för din kreativitet. Thank you so much for your incredible creativity and for joining us and enriching us and our ability to be more creative. There should be a slide after this that shows who's coming next. Next one.
That's the next one.
Okay, is there not one right after that?
These are the two. These were the two slides you gave me. That one and that one.
All right. All right. So who's our speaker next month? Shira Miller. She's a multi-time TED Talk speaker, and her topic is
resilience and how to activate. And I think her book is actually activating people.
Her book is about activating people. You know, Zappa's all about activating at scale. She's done so many TED Talks. She's maybe not quite as entertaining as Fredrik, because that's pretty hard to do. You're absolutely amazing, Fredrik. You have 2 books. Your first book is itself very unique. And remind us of the book that's coming out. Tell us about both books, the titles.
Yeah, I have written 11 books, but my most famous book is called The Idea Book. And the next one that comes out is this one, The World of Creativity.
Yeah, the Idea Book is the one I saw. The Idea Book itself is a very creative book. The way it's laid out, Fredrik tells that story sometime. Fredrik, thank you for joining us, enriching us, making us all smarter about our own creativity. Everybody, thank you for joining. Please share the link so that more people join us and get enriched together. Happy Friday. Have a good weekend, everybody.